Hi. To help you celebrate the International Day of Joy, I want to share with you how not forgiving actually gets in the way of your happiness. And I want to do that, share with you what I call the 4 facets of not forgiving. And the first is not forgiving actually hurts the other person. I love the quote that somebody once said about not forgiving is like you taking poison and actually hurting the other person. I remember getting a letter from a woman who said that when she was younger, when she was a teenager, she was molested several times. And now she was older, and she said for 50 years, I can't imagine that. She said she never forgave the person who molested her. And she carried that around with her all of those years, and it got in the way of her happiness. Dale Carnegie, she said, found a quote that he wrote, and I want to read it to you because she said this one quote by Dale Carnegie actually helped her forgive and get on with her life. He wrote, "When we hate our enemies, we are giving them power over us. Our enemies would dance with joy if they only knew how they were worrying us and getting even with us. Our hate is not hurting them at all, but our hate is turning our days and nights into a hellish turmoil." The second aspect of not forgiving is that it wastes our energy. It drags us down. I remember reading about an exercise that a teacher did to illustrate not forgiving others for her classroom. And she gave each student a burlap bag, and she had a pile of potatoes for them to take each potato and write the name of somebody that they hadn't forgiven. And then when they were finished writing the names of all those people they hadn't forgiven, to put them in the sack and carry it around the room for 10 minutes. And you could see what a wonderful example that was of how not forgiving people could weigh you down. And the third aspect of not forgiving is that it gets in the way of your happiness. I love what the Course in Miracles says. It says, or actually it asks, and it's a question you could always ask yourself, is do you want to be right or do you want to be happy? So if you want to be happy, you need to forgive. Because if you want to be right, that can get in your way of forgiving other people. Desmond Tutu had a quote about forgiving that I also want to share with you. Because he says, without forgiveness, we remain tethered to the person who harmed us. We are bound with chains of bitterness, tied together, trapped. Until we forgive the person who harmed us, that person will hold the keys to our happiness. That person is our jailer. That person doesn't even know this, but we are the ones being weighed down because we're not forgiving them. And the last and fourth aspect of not forgiving is that it stops us from moving on. And Desmond Tutu continued with that idea. And he says, when we forgive, we take back control of our fate and our feelings. We become our own liberators. We don't forgive for others, we forgive for ourselves. So if somebody cuts you off in traffic, if somebody doesn't meet your expectations, if somebody accuses you of something, if somebody walks down the street and bumps into you because they're on their cell phone, if somebody is rude to you, forgive them. If you want to be happier, you need to forgive them. And I want to close with a quote that I really like from Mother Teresa that totally addresses that. She said, when people are often unreasonable, I'm going to start again. Mother Teresa said, people are often unreasonable, irritable, irrational, and self-centered. Forgive them anyway.